by Aerosmith. So this one is in standard tuning, and we're in the E tonal center, mainly E minor, but we're going to see some E major stuff at points as well. Alright, so I've got two guitars going in the intro, and one is, well actually both to start with, they're just playing this E5 power chord. So we're going to basically do that by fretting in E minor and muting out the G string so that it doesn't ring. And so you just get the notes E and B in a big chord. So the rhythm is like a bump, 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 bump. And the last chord that's played there is our E7 sharp 9, which is 7, 6, 7, 8. Now the other guitar just plays the E5 while the other guitar plays the E7 sharp 9. So to review, 3, 4. On the other guitar, like that. Now the riff comes in, a new riff comes in like this. 3, 4. So it's an E minor blues scale type thing. We're doing 5-7 on the A string to the 5th fret there, and then we're doing the same thing again, but coming down to the low G, low octave. Alright, now the riff comes up like this. I'll play it slowly. So that's a slide from A to B flat, and then you're going to play your D note, and then you have this. So let's put all of that together. And then both guitars are going to do this. So the one guitar is just resting the whole time, the other one is, while the other one's playing the riff, and they come together at the... So, okay, that happens twice, and then the riff changes a little bit. This happens. 3, 4. So, let's talk about that. So the is the same. Then we're going to slide from 5 to 7, A to B. So that's the change. And then it comes down again. And now this little part is a little bit different. He plays the low strings and then the high strings like this. Like that. And it's not like a bump, bump. It's like an eighth, a dotted eighth, 16th type thing. So those measure slowly. And then, well, before I demonstrate it slowly, the next time around, at the end, it's just bump, bump, so that the second time, like that. So let's put the 4 bars after that bump, 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 bump type stuff together. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we're into the riffs that lead into the verse, and I'll show the easier part first. We have an A5, so that's 2, 5, 5, and then a G5, which is open, 3, 3, and the rhythm is 3, 4. So it's a dotted eighth, 16th thing. Alright, now the other guitar is just a whole bunch of pull-offs. It goes like this. So that is, the first 2 pull-offs are 5 to open on the low string, and then B to open. Alright, then on the A string we're going to do 5 open, and then come back 7 open on the low string. So, like that. Alright, then we're going to come down to the 4th fret, the G sharp, and we're going to come up chromatically. So, all together. This is one of those riffs that's definitely easier to play fast than it is slow because of the pull-offs to the open strings. So maybe just be aware of that. If you try to play it slowly at first, you're going to have a harder time because your slurs are going to be, you're going to have a tendency to play more uneven. Alright, so that's all that's going on for the verse. Again, the one guitar is doing the while the other one is doing a. Alright, now we're to the pre-chorus, and each of the pre-choruses are a little bit different. There's 3 of them, so let's look at that the first one, and I'll cover the other ones later as we go through the song. So we have this 2, 3, 4. So what we're doing at first is we're climbing up basically the E minor scale in power chords. So that's E5 to F sharp 5, G5 to A5. And these are 3-string power chords. Okay, so that first bend fill there is, he's bending that A note up a full step, releasing, doing a pull off, and coming down to tonic. So it's easier just to play it like that. Then the next one is just kind of like a real wild vibrato, or just like 2 quick bends. You could think of it either way. So let me play those back to back. And then here, we don't get a fill, and then the following measure we get. So then we have an A chord as the transition into the chorus, like that rhythm. And then we have like that. Now that guitar part is doubled, and it's, if you listen to this song with the doubles, there's some doubles happening through the pre-chorus and the chorus, which we'll look at in a second. And during the chorus, I can say definitely that one of the guitars is playing 3-string power chords and the other is playing 2. So I mean, it's harder to tell during the verse because of where the power chords are being played. So, I mean, one guitar could play 2-string power chords and the other 3, or both do 3, or, you know, just if you're arranging this, you know, maybe pay attention to that and see how it sounds. Alright, so there's an overdub track that we should talk about too, that's played with, sounds like a decent amount of reverb. And that's really all it's doing. It's just, it's kind of repetitious thing where we're playing E to B on one and then for beat 2 we're going to play the G note back to G. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So that happens for a total of 6 bars, and then the final 2 bars, while the other guitar is doing the, it's doing just E to B. Like so. And then we're to the chorus. So, yeah, let's look at that now. those are 3-string power chords, and the other one would just be doing. But then the E5 chord at the end they play is always the big 5-string, you know, with the muted thing. So let's talk about what's going on. There's a grace note from a D5 to an E5, and then it comes back to the D5. So, and then the next thing that happens is it kind of is the same thing on the 6-string power chord. So it's a grace note slide from A5 to B5, and then it comes back to the A5. So the rhythm, 3, 4. And so then we're going to hold the A5 and give it a little bit of vibrato. And then we have this, so the A5, then back to the D5, and then another grace note slide up to B5, A5, G5, and then the open E and chord. Like that. So yeah, one guitar, 2-string power chords, the other 3-string power chords. During the chorus, there's a third guitar that's overdubbed. It's playing primarily E octaves. So that's 1st and 3rd string, and it's just kind of playing a 16th note groove for the most part. Scratch rhythms like, you know, that type of thing. Sometimes he goes down to embellish with a D octave. So really anything, just think of the groove in your head. You know, that type of deal, with some muted strums and yeah, as long as you're grooving along with the rhythm section, anything like that, he's improvising clearly because it's not consistent at all. So yeah, that'll get the job done there. So next, what we have is like a post-chorus type part that leads us back from the chorus to the verse. So in terms of what the rhythm section is doing, like the bass is playing the riff that happens during the verse and like the pre-verse that we saw before, and then I'm guessing it's Brad Whitford is doing the type thing that we saw during the verse as well. So let's look at the little lead thing that, if I had to bet my next paycheck, it sounds like Joe Perry's Me. So we'll look at that. So that's the lead thing that he plays. Let me do that slowly. 3, 4. So it's E minor pentatonic, or E minor blues rather, with the first note is a. So he's bending that minor third up to the major third there at the beginning. So one major third note out of the rest, just minor blues. So let me do it again slow. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now back at tempo. 1, 2, ready, go. All right, so then we're back into and the other guitars. All right, so yeah, the second verse is the same as the first. Now the second pre-chorus is the same as the first pre-chorus, except for one of the little fills that that happens instead of the, you know, the crazy like A bend. It's the second fill. He does that. So what he's doing is bending that A note up here a full step and then catching this high G. So like that, and then back into it. So then all that's the same. Now then the second chorus is the same as the first. You know, you've got the one guitar playing the 3-string power chords, the other one playing the 2-string power chords, and then the third guitar doing the you know, that kind of thing. All right, so then what happens after that chorus? We don't get like another little lead break again. What happens is the song basically goes back to the intro, not like the very beginning, but to this riff. All right, so everything from the intro is the same. One guitar is doing that, and the other one's just doing the. All right, and then it changes for the next 2 repetitions of the riff, like it does in the intro, like. Like that, just as it does in the intro. And the other guitar is doing the same thing it did back there as well. Alright, so now we're into the solo part. So let's look at the rhythm guitar for the solo, and then we'll get after the licks. So for the solo, we're going to go to the 4 chord from the key of E, which is our A chord. Now we're just going to play it as an A5, and we're going to kind of do the same approach that we had with our E chord in the intro. So what we're going to do is this time mute out the 2nd string, because that's where the 3rd of the chord would be for A. So we're getting open, 2, 2, muted, open. So that gives us A5. And we're going to do that rhythm. 3, 4, 3, 4. Alright, so that happens twice there, and then we do our low E5 twice. 3, 4, 3, 4. And then it goes back to A5 twice, so. Alright, and then what we do is in palm mute B5, 8th notes, and then we're going to come up to a D5. And the rhythm that we're going to do is 1 and 2 E and a 3 and 4 E and a. Alright, so then at this point in the solo, what happens is the bass does the verse riff, and then the guitar, the rhythm guitarist is doing the. Like that, and that carries us to the end of the solo. The rhythm guitar does like kind of just like some slide out, you know, type deal. The last time it's something, you know, just something like that. Just to make sure I'm covering all the details. All right, so let's get after Joe Perry's monster solo now. That's the solo, and what he does at the end of the solo, it sounds to me like he's playing a Les Paul, the track that the solo's on. So Les Pauls do not have a whammy bar, so how is he doing this? I would guess he's just taking the tuning key and just detuning the string. So obviously, if you do have a whammy bar, you can just dive the bar down and get the same effect. All right. So I'm gonna kind of briefly talk a little bit about each of the licks. So over the A chord at the beginning, as an attention getting, like he's doing an A unison bend. So like that. Then he's coming down to the low strings for some E minor pentatonic stuff. Like this. So, get some slight pinch harmonics and dig into the strings and get some vibrato too. And then the next thing is that. So the way that I'm doing this, I don't know if he's doing it like this. I'm just raking backwards through the first and second string. So hit the high E and then B, and then it's, the E gets cut off as soon as you are striking that second string. So you get the E note and then that kind of sound. Then another half step bend to the major third, and then this. So some E minor pentatonic, and then and this is a cool thing. And I don't know if this solo, it sounds like he kind of had like the first half of or just like maybe the intro to the solo planned out. Like, okay, this is what I'm going to do when I record this. So this bend it's panned, there's an overdub, and that bend is doubled, just for kind of a cool studio effect. And then, yeah, a lot of pentatonic ripping. So I'll go back to the beginning, and then we'll talk about some of that pentatonic stuff. So we're gonna get some pickup notes, and I'll play this slowly. It starts on the and of 4, 16th notes. 2, 3, 4. So again, 3, 4. Alright, now this next lick is real cool. It's the 3/16th note thing that repeats, so you get, it falls differently on the beat. So all it is a hammer-on from A to B, and then you're going to play the higher octave of the B on the second string. Like that. Now the next measure, we're going to slide up to a D. And this is where we're playing over the D chord. Is that measure. So a bend there at the end. Now the next thing is really cool. It's probably my favorite part of this solo. Essentially what he's doing, the bass line that, is being played here loosely implies kind of like, we've got kind of an ambiguous 7th chord, I'll say. So what Joe Perry is doing is playing like the 3rd and the 7th of an E7 chord. These notes, G sharp and D, which are the notes that really outline that chord. So it's kind of like what a jazz guitarist would do to approach outlining a chord, but in a very rock and roll way. So what he's doing is this F sharp note. We're going to take that up a full step, and while playing that D note on the like that, is how he's creating that. And the bends get pushed down like that, to create that effect that he's got there. Alright, so the next lick is just a major pentatonic thing out of our 9th position, E major pentatonic. Simple enough, right? Then he slides out to around, I'd say, about the 2nd fret. And then he slides back up. And what we're going to do now is we're going to play out of this little 3-string E minor triad. So put that in context. Like that. So that bend that I just did is a full step. And it releases. And now we're to the climax of the solo. I would say the 4 final bars fill out what's, I would say, is the climax. So in a fair amount of solos, whether they're improvised or recorded of Joe Perry, in Slash, I've noticed with him too with this as well, what they like to do is just take the rhythmic intensity up basically as much as they can take it towards the end. So creating rhythmic intensity is something that you can do to create a climax. You know, other things that we've talked about, like playing higher in the range of your guitar or going to a lower range, you know, and playing louder, playing busier rhythms, you know, those kind of things are going to build intensity. So, yeah, I'll play these bars fairly slowly. 3 E and 4 E and and then back to tempo. And then, you know, with the whammy bar dive. Alright, so that is the solo. We've just got some overdubs really to talk about for the rest of the song. So here at this point in the song, it kind of breaks down. And then we have like a monster drum fill that takes us back to the pre-chorus. So the pre-chorus, one of the guitars is the same as basically the double is the same as the first pre-chorus, but there are some new fills this time around, and some of the powered chords get played higher. So let's take a look at all that. So with the pre-chorus now we have the, and instead of doing the fill here, he does it here. So. And then what happens now is it goes back to the E5 power chord, but then the other chords get played up an octave higher. So now your F sharp's here on the 4th string, 3rd and 2nd strings, and you get the type bend where this goes up a full step and then grab the G. Like that. And then from there, the chords there are played up in octave. And then we go back to the thing that we get in the final 2 bars. Alright, so now the final chorus, what we have are some additional overdub tracks. So there's a whole mess of guitars, like 5 or 6 going on here in this final chorus. So we have the 2 guitars that were doing the, so one's doing, you know, the 2-string power chords, the other one's doing the 3-string power chords, the part that's going, the little octave part, and then we're going to have an additional overdub track that has 2-string power chords. And now this is played, sounds like it's a Les Paul, and he's just really cranked the gain and the mids and some of the highs up to bring it out further in the mix. So, you know, maybe if you wanted to simulate this, just play with, you know, your regular tone and then throw like an overdrive boost pedal on top of it. Alright, now there's another guitar to talk about that kind of, it's buried in the mix, but it goes like this. So the last bar, you can tell there's like a tiny bit of a slowdown at the end there. And that's, everybody's doing that. So really all this is basically he's playing the power chord progression with single notes up here in 12th position with some bends. Like that. And then like that. So not too terribly difficult. And then at the last time is like that. So the rhythm guitars do a similar thing too, like that. So they slow down as well at the end there, and do two as two strums of the E5, as Steven Tyler says, baby, to close out the song. That coincides with like that. All right, everybody. So that'll do it. I think I covered all of the overdubs, the solo parts, everything. So that should do it for Eat the Rich. I'm Matt Brown. Email for questions or if you need help with the tabs, that good stuff. All right, I'll see you guys around.